Ladies and gentlemen, presenting next in the Warriors Corner, U.S. Army Europe-Africa, Theater Fires and Multi-Domain Operations, and the USAREUR-AF AOR.
All right, good morning. I'm Colonel Seth Knazovich, Chief of Staff for the 56th Artillery Command. On behalf of the Commanding General, Brigadier General Andrew Gainey, appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak. I am joined today by Colonel Pat Moffett, who's the commander of 2nd and Multi-Domain Task Force. Together, we're going to talk about how these two formations represent the future of fires in Europe. Next slide. So, why is there a Theater Fires Command? For the current operational environment in the European theater, the U.S. Army has built a Theater Fires Command to synchronize, coordinate, and execute lethal and non-lethal fires at the theater level. To be able to do this, our primary mission is to help enable the joint force achieve overmatch from competition through conflict. We do this by building interoperability with our allies and partners, as well as simultaneously layering multi-domain effects in depth. The combination of these two objectives really gives us what is our theater fires architecture, and that architecture has 4 key influences: current threat, our allied interoperability, building for the Army of 2030, and then multi-domain operations in depth. Next slide. So as we look at these areas, I'm going to talk about the threat first. So the Theater Fires Command helps deter Russia's immediate threat to European security and stability. NATO's shared adversary has an outsized force and is capable of activities and actions in all 5 domains. They also have a robust anti-access area denial, or A2AD, system that affects NATO all along the eastern flank. The U.S. and the U.S. Army and the Joint Force can't defeat this alone, and so we must coordinate and work with our allies and partners to be able to achieve and degrade these adversary defenses in conflict, as well as set the conditions to deter further aggression in the theater. So as we look and talk about allied interoperability, the U.S. and NATO allies provide an incredible deterrence capacity, and that capacity is growing. Our allies and partners are continuing to build and develop their long-range lethal and non-lethal capabilities. Leveraging these capabilities and synchronizing them is a theater-wide challenge, and it's one that requires a clear vision of the theater fires architecture, a set of standards, if you will, kind of built on the 3 pillars of interoperability: human, procedural, and then technical. The community continues to build and develop our understanding of these through large-scale exercises like Dynamic Front, which is Europe's largest fires interoperability exercise, as well as key information sharing forums like the International Fires Warfighting Forum for Europe. As we look at for the Army of 2030, the 56th Artillery Command and its subordinate elements are at that forefront. As we look at emerging technologies like the long-range hypersonic weapon and new formations like the Theater Information Advantage Detachment, these are formations that we are including in our training and exercises to be able to understand how to leverage these capabilities in the European theater. And then as we bring these capabilities in, these are new and novel experiences and exquisite technologies that the theater has not had before that we are now providing for the land component. And as we look at multi-domain operations in depth, we are looking and focused on seeing and sensing further into the battlefield, and then making decisions faster to support and shape the land component fight. As we exist above the core battle space, we are not just shaping with traditional surface-to-surface platforms. We're working in the information, cyber, electronic warfare, and space capabilities, and those are more important now than ever in the European theater. Our headquarters, along with the 2nd MDTF, are working to synchronize and to be able to make these things as the shaping tools for the Joint Force and our combined partners. Next slide. So, activated in 2021, October, so just 2 years ago, the 56th Artillery Command became the first Theater Fires Command within the Army. We are constantly working alongside the other major commands within the theater: 21st Theater Sustainment Command, 10th Army Air and Missile Defense Command, CTAF Africa, and 5th Corps, to be able to build the Theater Fires Community of Interest. Additionally, we are working the lethal and non-lethal targeting process with our NATO allies, as well as the headquarters at LANDCOM and SHAPE. None of this would be possible without our two subordinate organizations, the 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force and the 19th Battlefield Coordination Detachment, who are regularly training and involved in exercises along with our NATO allies and then our joint partners. Slide. So with 2 years in the theater now, the command continues to develop the details and look at how we build and address some of the theater-wide challenges. The command continues to build upon the joint and combined sensor-to-shooter system on the Federated Mission Network, looking to see how we can incorporate artificial intelligence and then machine learning to make those decisions faster. Similarly, the command's got to continue to build situational awareness by working with our multi-domain mission command software so that we can understand how to layer and then assess the effects that we are having in all domains. Key exercises that you'll hear about here in a second, like Arcane Thunder for the MDTF, provide us the venue and the opportunity to demonstrate those capabilities, as well as identify where are those learning opportunities that we need to continue to pursue to stay ahead of adversaries. Slide. So the 56th Artillery Command's focus in 2024 and beyond is building a system that is capable of leveraging the best asset to create the best effect for the theater. Achieving that is only possible with the talented soldiers that we have across the command. Continuing to build, develop, grow, and learn that team is how we are going to continue to build the best soldiers in the Army. So this is our shared vision of the future of fires in Europe. And with that, I will hand it over to Colonel Moffett.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As Seth said, I'm Colonel Pat Moffett. I'm the commander of the 2nd MDTF. I really appreciate having the opportunity to come here and talk to you all about an organization that I think is pretty special and an organization that I think is a great asset to the European theater. So as part of the Army of, you can go forward a slide, as part of the Army of 2030, the 2nd MDTF is a organization that's 2 years into its build. So with that, what I want to start off with is, the vision for this organization as we move to full build. The vision for 2nd MDTF is we are the land components commander's go-to organization for multi-domain operations and effects. We operate daily in competition while remaining trained and postured to transition to conflict whenever called. We operate at the cutting edge of capabilities to ensure we are prepared for tomorrow's fight. So, as I think most of you are aware, there are 3 MDTFs. 1st and 3rd MDTF are focused on the Pacific. 2nd MDTF, we're the only MDTF focused on Europe and Africa. What that does for us is it means we have a different mission set than 1st and 3rd do. So in 2nd MDTF, one big difference is we are already operating within the A2AD bubble. 2, we already know all the 30 countries that are along with the U.S. that are in this coalition for this fight. We know the 30 partners that we have to work in, day out, and train with. And lastly, our focus is weighted much more to the land component than the maritime component as we fight, which does differentiate some of the capabilities and equipment that we need. So, at full build, what is the 2nd MDTF? First thing I will tell to everybody is the MDTFs are maneuver formations. We're not intelligence formations. We are a maneuver formation and need to be utilized in that manner. We start with I have the 2nd Multi-Domain Effects Battalion. That battalion, tactically, I use as the reconnaissance squadron for the MDTF. They can do all of the tasks in all of the domains that a reconnaissance squadron can do without putting personnel on the ground. We can see forward, we can screen, we can delay, we can disrupt, we can answer PIRs, CCIRs for the commander. With the Long Range Fires Battalion that's coming, I give the 56th Theater Fires Command and the Land Component Commander the ability to strike strategic targets at depths beyond our adversaries' capabilities. As we grow and stand up our Air Defense Battalion, I gain the ability to defend our critical equipment, critical capabilities, and support the 10th AAMDC Commander as he lays out the Theater Air Defense Plan. And then lastly, we have a logistics battalion in order to self-sustain and maintain this organization. So as we look at the core functions for the 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force, core function number 1, multi-domain reconnaissance. We conduct reconnaissance across the spectrum and in all domains. Targeting, we support the joint targeting cycle as both observers and delivery platforms. We synchronize multi-domain operations. You know, as the MDO experts for the Land Component Commander, it's our job to integrate and inform joint, allied, and partner capabilities for the theater and O-plan execution. As you look at the map on the screen, throughout Europe, we demonstrate our capabilities and synchronize the joint allies and partners through the UCOM, USAREUR-AF, and AFRICOM exercise programs. And then daily, we train and study in order to have a better understanding of the operating environment in depth. So pretty big goals for a small organization. So, you know, how do we get at that? How do we train to this task? And the way we do it is with the Arcane Thunder exercises. So the first Arcane Thunder exercise we conducted was from mid-August through the first week of September of this year. That's Arcane Thunder 23. This exercise was the first time the 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force went out as an organization and conducted a training exercise solely focused on building our capabilities, our battle tracking, and determining and kind of driving forward how we operate as an organization. I think we'll show a video of that, and then we'll talk about the exercise a little more.
Arcane Thunder 23 is an unprecedented multi-domain and multinational exercise that is the result of the close partnership between Army Futures Command and United States Army, Europe and Africa, combining new experimental technologies and formations while informing further capability requirements that will help deliver the Army of 2030. The 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force was established in conjunction with the 56th Artillery Command, which plans and coordinates lethal and non-lethal fires to support the Joint Force Land Component Command. Arcane Thunder 23 is the first time the 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force has led a training event and is part of the U.S. Army's Project Convergence campaign to evaluate the progress of the service's modernization efforts. Arcane Thunder 23 incorporated industry technology to aid organic sensor-to-shooter capabilities and allowed the 2nd Multi-Domain Task Force All-Domain Operations Center to synchronize lethal and non-lethal effects.
Not only is this the first large-scale exercise for 2nd MDTF, this is the first exercise ever solely focused on training in MDTF in Europe. What Arcane Thunder 23 is really giving us the opportunity to test our ability to sense throughout all domains.
Okay, a bunch of technical difficulties there. Well, we will drive on. Hey, what this exercise did, so we executed Arcane Thunder from 3 locations. So we had the MDEB TAC located in Poland. We had a multi-domain cell in Romania. And then we had the headquarters and the ADOC located in Germany. We executed with multiple partner nations, specifically Poland, Romania, France, and the UK. And this exercise allowed us to test capabilities in partnership with DevCom, C5ISR, Project Convergence Europe. Some of kind of the key milestones that we were able to execute in this exercise. One, we were able to take targeting data from Clay Kaserne in Germany, pass that to an ADOC on Mainz-Kastel, send that firing data to the 10th Mountain Jajic located at MK Air Base in Romania, and then send that firing data to both French, US, and Romanian firing units at Capel Media, Romania. It was the first opportunity to really show that the second MDTF can share with all our coalition partners and get firing data down to the units that need it, get that intel collected down to the executors of the commander's targeting vision. We're also able to get the opportunity to host all 10 NATO corps commanders at the exercise to show them and educate them on second MDTF's capabilities, and then for them to understand how we support the theater and in turn their corps that they lead and command. Arcane Thunder will be an annual training event. It's really our opportunity to evaluate our current capabilities, help inform the Army of our future needs and requirements, and be able to tell the commander right now, here's what your MDTF is able to do, and really inform next year, this is what we should be able to do afterwards. We are already in planning of Arcane Thunder 24, which is scheduled to be conducted both in Europe and on the continent of Africa. So pretty excited about the exercise, and looking forward to whatever questions you all have for 56 Fires and myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim Martin. We've heard a lot across the last few days of Russia's ability to adapt, which I suppose is very different from the initial stages of the invasion in Ukraine. I just wonder what your characterization of the threat now is, given that we're also talking about a long war and continuing into Ukraine and so forth.
Okay, I'm not sure I totally understand your question, but let me try to get it answering it. I think, yes, we have seen Russia adapt well to Ukrainian tactics, but what that has done is also helped us to understand the problem set. Yes, the Russians are adapting, but we are also able to see those adaptations and then adjust, how we collect information and how we conduct operations in the multi-domain task force.
Hi, sir. Preston Johnson, Collins Aerospace. Having now conducted your first exercise, Arcane Thunder, what was the hardest problem you felt like you faced?
I'm going to give you two problems, really, two challenges, and I don't think the challenges are anything new. Challenge number one is when we're looking at the amount of data that is out there, especially in the electronic spectrum, the ability to filter that data and get it down to a manageable process to understand and find what you want to target within a target location error that is usable for the systems you have. Secondly, the network architecture challenges of moving data through multiple systems and then having to identify where data is lost or where it picks up errors as you transfer it between systems and classifications. All right, this is getting uncomfortable. You got one, sir?
I'll ask a question. Oh. Hey, sir, this is Major Wright, 21st TSC. I just had a question. Were there any major logistical challenges that we could learn from to better enable the MDTF from your vantage point, sir?
I think logistically, and it was discussed earlier today, in Europe you have the tyranny of distance. As the theater has pushed east, the amount of distance we have to cover with logistical support just continues to grow and makes those lines of communication longer. I would say where we saw the biggest challenges is in the time that it takes things to move from Germany to Poland or from Germany to Romania, and the amount of days you have to have personnel on the road to get logistics to where it needs to be.
Hi, sorry, Ian McGregor, L3 Harris. You guys are like operating at convergence, which we've heard leadership talk about. How are you guys taking lessons learned and then funneling that back through when domains are often procured through different, PEOs, different sources, but you guys are at the pointy end of the spear when it comes to convergence. So how are you feeding that back? So as industry, then we can respond to you guys.
So I can cover some of that. So for Arcane Thunder, we tested a bunch of systems. We had the team from C5ISR out, along with the vendors. So we are writing the white papers as the MDTF, excuse me, on the kind of the tactics and operationalizing it. C5ISR is writing the white papers on the technology to share with industry for what needs to be developed.
And then on the broader piece, as we are looking at the larger piece of the theater, whether it's working through exercises, the joint staff level like Austere Challenge, where we are seeing some of the larger effects and what we are trying to change for the bigger picture for the theater. We're providing that information back to the joint staff, as well as the seated back at Fort Sills. We look at helping develop the doctrine for theater fires commands as a part of the larger fire support structure for the Army.
Irv Oliver, Lockheed Martin. As you're looking at convergent effects, what's the division of labor between the MDTF and the BCD?
So I would say a little bit different missions. The BCD is still, the representation of the land component inside the air component. There's a heavy amount of time that is spent on helping to push, whether it's the ASRs or 1972s as part of the CAS fight in the larger picture. And then the BCD, along with ourselves and the MDTF, are spending a lot of time with our NATO allies going out to help on the education for JAGICs and how to do that air-ground integration, as that really has been a big theme of effort from SHAPE all the way down through the Joint Force Component Commands down to the NATO cores.
I mean, the only add-on I would say is, as the MDTF, we're a much bigger part of the targeting process as opposed to the coordination process that the BCD does. So I think we kind of operate in two different realms. And then I'm going to jump back because I missed something on answering you, Major Wright, your question. The other place we saw challenges that I didn't expect to see was in power generation and the equipment requirements for power generation, but not all NATO countries' power generation comes the same. So if you're on the power grid versus bringing generators with you, et cetera, and then understanding really when we're utilizing these new test equipments, the power generation requirements before going into the exercise, whether you have, clean power, what you're losing coming off. So that was the other kind of large logistical challenge we saw that was unexpected.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is a question for both organizations. Terrell Larry, Department of the Army, G357. So outside of the exercise process, for operations or for current state, how are you guys looking at getting at the efforts and challenges on addressing sharing of data within the electromagnetic spectrum at the joint level and coalition level?
So that information sharing is a constant line of effort as we look at how are we sharing that information. Not only how do we create that common operating and common intel picture on the U.S. side, but also how do we go through the steps to be able to get that information shared as broadly as possible with our NATO allies and partners. And so that is a consistent line of effort, whether it's in the G6 community on the technical aspect or the G2 community on doing the actual intel sharing.
Yeah, I would say in a lot of areas we're not doing it very well, if I'm being blunt and open on it. Some of it in the EW spectrum, a lot of that is easy to share. When you get into cyber, what we do to share information in the cyber realm is we do have defensive cyber capabilities that we partner and train with other NATO countries to help them build that capability. But and I think if you were here for when General Potter spoke, she spoke up front that that is one of our biggest challenges right now, is getting classifications to the right levels to share with partners. But I'd also say it is the same for our NATO partners and them getting their information down to the level to share with us also. It is not solely a U.S. problem. It is I think it's across all of our nations problem.
Hi, gentlemen. Chad Williams, OSD CDAO. I'm curious, when you look at 1 or 3 MDTF and the efforts that they have with J81 and the other JADERs out at Indo-PACOM and how they're trying to integrate with Joint Fires Network, what lessons do you guys think are worth learning from the Indo-PACOM experience for 2 MDTF and UCOM, and what does that interaction look like? Like, how unique is the problem set from a data sharing perspective, from like joint fires and apportioning those fires between 2 MDTF and other service components? What does that interaction look like with the other MDTFs, and what do you guys think right looks like?
Okay, I would say the interaction between the 3 MDTFs, we communicate regularly and often. We come together to do conferences semi-annually to determine, hey, what is the way forward with manning, equipping, training for the MDTFs. I think although the problem sets are different, the MDTFs, we still work in that targeting realm. You know, we have the 56th above us, 1st and 3rd do not, so they are going straight to the land component commander and USAREUR-AF. We route through the 56th. I don't see that really as that big of a difference or a challenge or a struggle with the mission command process. I think the biggest difference is how the fight will happen. Whereas, you know, we're in the European theater. We do not have to go to, you know, unpopulated areas like there are in the Pacific. So we don't have some of the same, I guess, deployability requirements that that 1st and 3rd have with how you fight in that theater. But overall, capabilities-wise, I think our capabilities and requirements will be the same with just some niche changes.
Hi, one more question on this side. Hi, so I'm Avery, I'm from Esri. I've heard, I probably should have asked this question when General Potter was up, but I've heard a lot from a lot of the people in the MDTS specifically, and you talked a little bit about the data sharing aspects and the problems that you have with it. We've noticed that there's a huge problem that we've been hearing about for years about the sharing and the provisioning of geospatial information, that common MAC background. I'm wondering, has the Army thought through a process of having, for example, a PMGO that would be responsible for solving that big problem that seems to be something that's an issue for almost every single one of these supportive programs of record?
Yeah, that is outside of the kind of my realm to answer that. That is definitely an Army G2 question. All right. If there are no further questions, we really appreciate the opportunity to engage with you all today and talk about fires and multi-domain operations in Europe. So thank you, everybody.